At the beginning of this story, we meet Ark, who was a gamer who had no social life, and one day, all of a sudden, Ark found himself transformed into a skeleton inside the game he was playing. He analyzed his wide variety of skills before looking at his reflection in a river, and realizing that he had become exactly the skeleton he had created as his character. After overcoming the shock, he went to the nearest town and discovered that he could feel hunger even as a skeleton. So, he registered with the mercenary guild to get a license, earn money, and start an ordinary life. One day, while returning from hunting 2 boars and an orc, he saw a caravan being attacked by a group of bandits. The caravan belonged to a young noblewoman, whose guards had already been defeated. The bandits were about to attack her, but Ark teleported behind the leader of the group and, with a single sword strike, he defeated 3 of them. The other bandits fled in fear, but Ark used a ranged attack to stop them. Despite having great power, Ark did not want to reveal the truth about himself to the world, as it could put him in danger. Therefore, he decided to keep a low profile and only accepted his first mission to escort the girl while she gathered medicinal herbs. The girl was initially frightened by her companion, but she soon got used to him and began to guide him through the forest, teaching him about the medicinal plants along the way. Ark then saw an injured 9-tailed fox cub among the bushes. The fox was quite aggressive at first, but when Ark captured it and healed it using magic, it became attached to him and became his pet. Ark named it Panta. They reached the deepest part of the forest, where, from the top of a rock, they saw a single white cherry tree in full bloom. The girl wanted to pick some flowers and, excited, ran down to the tree. At that moment, Ark and Panta noticed a monster approaching. A 6-legged basilisk watched the young girl like helpless prey. Even so, Ark used his short-range teleportation ability, Dimension Walk, to save her. The monster, nicknamed Toadzilla, released a poisonous breath, but Ark teleported away again. Considering the range of the creature's attacks, Ark decided that it would be best to face it in melee. He blocked Toadzilla's claw attacks, but the monster then used its long tongue to attack. Ark dodged all the attacks, which made Toadzilla impatient. The monster charged up its final attack and launched a petrifying wave. All living creatures within range began to turn to stone, but Ark used his sacred shield, which nullified any status effects, and protected himself and the girl. With the monster now even more furious and using more arms to fight, Ark began to feel pressured. So he used an advanced skill called Judgment, created a magic circle under the basilisk, and summoned a giant lightning sword, ending the battle with a single blow. The girl was impressed and began to believe that Ark was a hero worthy of celebration. However, since he wanted to keep it a secret, he asked her to keep what she had seen a secret. Ark also noticed a red and black ring attached to one of the monster's legs, which broke off a few seconds after the creature died. Upon returning to the village, Ark saw a giant boar and decided to offer its meat to the townspeople that night. He hunted the animal, took it to the village, and asked them to give the skin to the girl. The meat would be for everyone. This gesture was enough to earn him the title of local hero. As he was about to leave, the girl's younger sister gave him a wreath of flowers as a thank you. Later, when he returned to his room at the inn and looked at the gift, Ark realized that there was more to life than just hiding his true identity. He decided that from the next day on, he would do more to help those in need. After this life-changing mission, Ark took on a new job hunting bandits. He tracked down a group of thieves and kidnappers hiding in a den and defeated them. There, he found a cache of treasure and 2 open cages with jars of food in front of them, which intrigued him. Still, he thought it best not to get involved with something that was none of his business. As he was leaving the cave with the gold, a hooded girl attacked him by surprise. He thought it might be another bandit, but he realized that her sword skills were excellent and almost as fast as his. During the confrontation, Ark noticed the girl's pointy ears and remembered seeing her in the city market days before. Her name was Arian, and she was a warrior elf who fought to protect her people and rescue elf children who had been kidnapped by greedy humans. She believed that Ark was one of them. She cursed him, and when he tried to explain, she wouldn't listen. But when she saw Panta, she let her guard down and asked why a spirit would be accompanying a bandit. The elf explained that the cub with him was one of the spirits known for being extremely cautious, and said that they never approached bad people. Therefore, if the creature was so close to Ark, he must be a good person. Because of this, Arian apologized for her behavior. She told him how some bandits had kidnapped elves to sell them as slaves, and Ark then understood what the cages were for. Arian wanted to go back to the cave, but Ark said that she wouldn't find anything there anymore. He offered to help her on her quest, but she refused, saying that it was an elf matter, and left without telling her name. Even so, Ark, as a player, knew that this was a quest in which he would end up helping a pretty girl to join his party. The next day, he used Dimension Walk to teleport to the dense forest where the elves lived. There, he heard human voices where a group of bandits were kidnapping elf children, led by a spoiled brat named Eudolin. They had captured 4 children, and when one of them glared at Eudolin, he simply punished her severely. Ark had seen enough and was furious with the way the bandits treated the elves. But before he could act, Arian jumped from a branch and defeated 2 of them at once. One of the bandits warned Eudolin that she was a dark elf, and that if she were captured, she would be worth a lot of money. Eudolin ordered her to be arrested. The men advanced with repulsive smiles, but Arian met them with swift, lethal blows. She defeated almost all of them, until Eudolin threatened to kill the children if she moved. At that moment, Arian could only curse him, helpless in the face of the threat, while the bandits approached to touch her. At that moment, Ark appeared behind Eudolin, threw him into the air, and slammed him hard against a tree. Arian, freed from the threat, eliminated the remaining bandits with even greater fury. When he tried to free the children, he discovered that the door was locked. Even though his pride was hurt, Ark said that the children's safety was more important than whether or not it was the elves' problem, and broke the lock with his own hands. The children ran to Arian, frightened, and she realized that they were all wearing necklaces that absorbed mana, preventing the use of spiritual magic. This was the reason why none of them were able to escape. Arian could not remove the necklaces, but Ark used an anti-curse spell and managed to remove the accessory from the injured girl, in addition to healing her. Arian was surprised because she understood that no ordinary knight would have such abilities. While she thought about this, Ark had already freed all the children, who began to trust him. The elf then summoned a bird called the Whispering Bird, which acted as a messenger and voice recorder, and sent a message asking for someone to come and get the little ones. Soon, 2 elf guards arrived and took the children safely. Ark said that if they were ever in trouble again, he would save them again. Arian called him a strange person, but in a friendly way. She said that he was the first decent human she had ever met, someone who did not discriminate against elves, and that he had mastered several types of magic, including the legendary teleportation magic. They finally formally introduced themselves, and the elf thanked him for helping her and saving the children. Then someone sent a new message through the bird, and upon hearing the recording, Ark was shocked. The message was from another elf, who informed Arian of the location of the kidnapped children, and summoned her to join him in the city to help with the rescue operation. Arian thought for a moment, and then asked Ark if she could hire him as a mercenary immediately. She explained that she had never trusted anyone outside the elven people, but wanted to give him a chance, and Ark readily agreed. He used his long-range teleportation spell, called Portal, to move to a cliff. The elf found this ability extremely useful for the mission. From there, they walked to the city and waited in a dark alley for the elf named Danka, the same one who had sent the message. Danka was serious, direct, and had intimidating eyes and a cold, low voice. His icy gaze frightened Ark. Even with Arian making the introductions, Danka completely ignored Ark. Ark felt out of place even as the 3 of them went to a restaurant to discuss their plan. There, Ark discovered that the 2 elves shared the surname Maple, the same name as their hometown in the Great Canadian Forest. Arian offered Ark food, but he refused because if he showed his face, he knew he would be attacked before he could even explain himself. Danka didn't even try to talk to Ark, preferring to focus on the food and act as a food critic. It was only when he saw Panta that he began to trust the knight a little more. He then revealed that he had found the place where the children were, and the group decided to act at night. While they waited for the right moment, Ark went out to take care of his tasks. He sold the items he had collected during the fight against the bandits, and, before returning to find the elves, decided to eat something. He bought his favorite foods and sat down to eat on a dirty street, which, to him, was still cleaner than his room. When night fell, the group arrived at the indicated location, not realizing that they were being closely followed by a ninja. They found guards at the gate, and Arian asked Ark to teleport them to the windows on the first floor. He used dimensional walking to take them there, although they were expecting him to use the portal. Arian suggested that they enter through the windows. She tried to squeeze through the tight space, wishing at that moment that she were thinner since she was stuck. As she squeezed through, Ark and Danka teleported inside with ease, which made her quite embarrassed. The group quietly went downstairs and opened a door, finding a room full of people who had recently been defeated. They realized that there was another person women in the building and, to speed things up, decided to split up to look for the elves. Ark moved using dimensional walk and peered through keyholes before teleporting into the rooms. He found another room filled with corpses, and suddenly he was attacked with throwing knives. He dodged the attacks, and a small ninja attacked him with quick movements and agile strikes. Ark blocked all of the blows. He was surprised to find a ninja, especially since she had cat ears and a tail. He felt lucky to have met her. The ninja girl was surprised to realize that the knight knew what a ninja was. When she saw Panta, she apologized for attacking someone recognized by a spirit. She assumed that Ark was there to rescue the kidnapped elves and told him that they were in the basement. She gave him some papers with important information. She herself was looking for something else, which she couldn't find, and so she decided to leave after eliminating some bandits. Before leaving, she warned him that there were also 2 elves being held in the Lord's mansion, and then disappeared through the rooftops. Ark thought that having Panta by his side was the best thing in the world. He opened the documents and was shocked to see that they were contracts for the purchase of elves. He showed the papers to his companions, who were also surprised, and discovered that the person responsible for everything was Lord Dinto, the ruler of that region. Ark told them what he had learned from the ninja, but hid his identity, saying that he had interrogated someone. The group thought about entering the basement discreetly, but the bandits found them, forcing them to fight. Arian used her special move, the Fire Blade, and turned the enemies into coal in just one attack. With that, they ran to the basement, where the elf girls trembled in fear as they heard the bangs. Ark and his companions entered, and he opened the prison gates, bending the metal as if it were clay. Then he teleported everyone to another cliff. Then he removed the mana-sucking necklaces from the girls, who were moved and thanked him with tears. Denka finally came to trust him and left it in his charge to rescue the 2 remaining elves. While he took the children back to the village, the Lord's mansion was now in sight, and Ark teleported himself and Arian using dimensional walk. Arian had them go to the highest point of the building, as that was where the Lord would most likely be. As soon as they arrived, they were met by guards who ordered them to surrender. Ark used his dragon slash move to destroy the tower's alarm bell, producing enough smoke and noise to ruin any chance of sneaking in. The guards panicked, trying to find the intruders, but Ark managed to hide among the statues of knights. A servant ran up to Lord Dinto, Eudelin's father, who was about to pester the beautiful elves, and announced that 2 monsters had invaded the mansion. That was the last thing he could say, as the door behind him exploded as Ark and Arian entered. Eudelin panicked at the sight of them and tried to crawl away. Dinto tried to fight them off, but Arian knocked him down with a well-aimed kick and saved the girls. Meanwhile, Ark pinned Eudelin against a wall, scaring him so much that he fainted. Then Ark broke through a wall and revealed a secret room. He asked Arian to take a look. She told him about the peace treaty between humans and elves, and said that Dinto had been the first to violate it, so he deserved to be punished. She called the 2 elven girls to take their anger out on the man when soldiers came to defend the Lord. Ark asked Arian to distract them while he investigated the hidden room. She used her flaming sword to defeat them all and told the girls to escape to safety. She then went to the hideout and found Ark collecting gold bars. Before she could scold him for stealing, he explained that he needed a lot of money to build any kind of organization. If the humans tried to restart the kidnapping ring, they wouldn't be able to do it quickly without resources. Arian believed his justification and even praised his strategy. Suddenly, explosions shook the entire mansion, and the 2 fled with the gold before the building collapsed. Neither of them knew who had caused the explosions, but Ark suspected the ninja girl. With the mission complete, Arian offered Ark money, but said that it was nothing compared to the treasure he had taken. Ark accepted without hesitation, even though he was already rich. Arian then asked if he had any plans and invited him to accompany her to the land of the elves. She explained that many of her people were still suffering at the hands of humans and that she could count on his help to save them. Ark wanted very much to live a life full of adventure, but he pretended to hesitate, asking if the elves would accept an outsider. Arian said she would do her best to get permission from the elders, but Ark warned her that he could not take off his armor, not even for a check. She asked why, and he created tension by saying that she might see him as a monster if she saw him without his helmet. When she promised not to judge, he revealed that he was a skeleton. Arian was shocked and asked what had happened to his face, but Ark couldn't tell her that he was a game character in another world. Instead, he simply said that he had woken up that way one day. He told her his character's backstory. He was a holy knight who had been cursed and now had to travel the world in search of a cure. Arian was still surprised, but explained that he wasn't undead, because if he were, His spirit would be corrupted, and he wouldn't be able to use healing or light magic. Not even Panta would be as close to him as she was. The elf warrior said that she would accept him as he was. The elves would keep his secret, and the elders might know something if the problem really was a curse. Ark accepted her proposal, and the two decided to travel together. Arian took him to her city through a dense forest. Ark, too excited, tried to use dimensional walking, and ended up falling off a cliff near a river. They rested there for the night, and Arian sent a voice message to her people telling them that she was returning with a guest. The girl was still hungry, so Ark went out to hunt for something else. When he returned, he found the usual serious elf hugging Panta affectionately, and took the opportunity to tease her about it. After a few days of traveling, they finally arrived at the elven city. Upon seeing the giant iron gate, Ark was amazed. Arian asked for the gate to be opened, and Ark was impressed by the fantastical appearance of the heavy mechanism being erected. She entered alone and asked him to wait there until she got the elder's permission. As he waited, Ark looked at the high wooden fence that surrounded the city and thought that, considering how long the elves had lived, it must be quite old too. Since Arian was slow to return, Ark spent his time playing with Panta, practicing his sword, exercising, and even taking a short nap. When she finally returned, she confirmed that she had obtained permission and called an inn. Ark noticed that the elven city looked like a farming village, but the giant pod-shaped houses looked like they had been created by some designer. In the center of the city was a huge tree that served as the elder's home and office. Arian took Ark to Elder Dillion and his wife, Glenys, who welcomed him kindly and thanked him for taking care of their daughter. It was only then that Ark discovered that Arian was the elder's daughter, as she had never told him so before. Glenys said that Arian was only 170 years old, when in fact she was over 240, which angered her daughter. Ark was surprised to learn that elves really did live a long time, as she looked no older than 30. Dillion thanked Ark for helping the elven people, but soon turned to his daughter and asked why she had attacked a nobleman's mansion when her mission was simply to rescue the kidnapped elves. Arian was unable to give a clear answer, so Ark stepped in and explained everything that had happened over tea. Dillion said he would report the matter to the Convention of Elven Elders the next day, and would also show them the contracts for the sale of elves that Ark had found. With serious matters over, Glenys brought the food. As everyone began to eat, Ark became nervous and unsure of what to do. Arian reassured him, and Dillion assured them that he already knew about his condition and that the three of them would keep it a secret. Convinced, Ark hesitantly removed his helmet and ate dinner with others for the first time in weeks. The next day, he woke up in a comfortable bed, without his armor, with Panta resting on his hollow chest. When he went outside, he found that Dillion and Arian had already left for the Convention of Elders. Behind their house was a transport circle to the elven capital. It was a large wooden stump with a magic crystal next to it, and several elven mages were needed to perform the teleportation. Dillion and Arian arrived at the capital, which was bustling with activity, and went straight to the headquarters where the elders were gathered. The elected head of all the elders asked Dillion to report what he knew about the recent kidnappings, and he gave a detailed report. The elders were horrified to learn the truth, and considered that the case could justify a war against the humans, as had happened 600 years ago. However, no human remembered that war, since what was a generation ago for the elves was ancient history for the humans. After the war, a non-aggression pact had been made, which had now been broken by the humans. Still, the elders decided that it would be unwise to act hastily. One of the elders suggested filing a complaint with the rodent kingdom, with whom they had made a pact, but the warrior elder argued that they did not need to explain themselves to any humans. Besides, the humans could use legal means to punish those who had saved the kidnapped elves, accusing them of attacking a nobleman's house. The chief elder agreed and ordered that the rescue operations would continue, but with greater caution. They would also keep a close eye on the activities of the humans. When they returned from the meeting, Arian felt guilty about the consequences of her impulsive actions, but Dillion reassured her that she had done the right thing in saving the people. They then began to talk about other matters, and Arian was surprised to learn that her battle-obsessed older sister was soon to be married. She couldn't even imagine her sister with a man, when Evelyn, the sister in question, suddenly appeared, jumped on her, hugged her tightly, and completely ignored her father. After getting fed up with the hugs, Evelyn said that she was proud of her sister for having saved so many elves. These words didn't make Arian any happier, because Evelyn was considered one of the best elven warriors, and Arian always had an inferiority complex when comparing them. To change the subject, Arian asked about marriage, and Evelyn returned the question, wanting to know if her sister liked anyone. Arian replied that there was no man in her life, but blushed when she thought of Ark, and Evelyn took the opportunity to tease her, saying that anyone who wanted to marry her would have to be stronger than her. Arian retorted by saying that Evelyn would just have to admit that she didn't want to see her married in this life, which made the other laugh a lot. It was clear that the man Arian had in mind would not have an easy life. Meanwhile, Ark was walking around the village, where everyone was looking at him suspiciously, except for the girls he had saved. Glenys asked to spar with him for a while. The two faced off with training swords, and Ark wondered if a housewife would be ready to fight him. She claimed that she had taught Arian how to fight. She also revealed that she was a dark elf with extraordinary physical abilities, and that she felt the need to test anyone she deemed strong, to see if they were truly capable of protecting her daughter. Ark understood her motives, and the training began. Glenys went on the attack first, outclassing Ark with quick strikes, then appeared behind him and knocked him down. With her sword pointed at him, she told him that his movements were those of an amateur, and began giving him tips on how to improve. She told him to stand up for the second round, and Ark was excited to be learning real combat techniques from someone experienced. The friendly and seemingly harmless housewife defeated Ark 100 times in humiliating fashion, but he kept trying. Finally, he thought he had found an opening to surprise her with dimensional walking, and even though he managed to appear behind her, Glenys was fast enough to defeat him without difficulty. As skilled as she was now just a housewife, and she left the training ground already thinking about what to make for dinner, while leaving Ark lying in the dust. He concluded that having high stats wasn't everything, and that real combat experience was the most valuable of all. Back home, he discovered that the elves had a bath inside their residence, and he wanted to try it out. He took Panta with him, washed the pet, and dove into the water, feeling intense pleasure in his bones. Baths were rare and considered a luxury in that world, so this was the first time he had been able to enjoy one. While relaxing with his companion, Arian, unaware that he was there, returned home and entered the bath without checking if anyone was there. When she saw a skeleton in the tub, she was shocked, refused to listen to Ark's explanations, and threw it away with a fit of rage. During dinner, the two were visibly embarrassed, since everyone had seen them off guard, although this shouldn't have mattered so much to Ark, considering he literally had nothing to hide. Dillion appeared and began to talk to Ark about what the elders had decided. They wanted to hire him to help Arian rescue the kidnapped elves, since they didn't have much money to pay someone as rich as him. They decided to offer valuable information that could help him break his curse. Dillion told him that there was a hot spring near the Lord's Crown, which was said to be able to lift any curses from those who dipped in its waters. Ark asked what the Lord's Crown was, and the elf explained a long story about the various types of dragon-like creatures that existed in the world, the most powerful of which were the Dragon Lords. The Lord's Crown was a gigantic and rare tree that grew where a dragon lord made his home, and many spirits lived around it, bestowing miraculous properties on the tree's leaves and fruits. However, it was a dangerous place, as anyone who disturbed the spirits would awaken the Dragon Lord's wrath. Arian explained that entering the Lord's Crown was dangerous for humans, but the most worthy elves could obtain permission from the spirits to enter, and that they could provide this permission for Ark as well. Dillion asked if this information was enough as payment, and Ark replied that it was more than enough. Still, as he lay in bed, he began to wonder if he really was cursed. The story he had told everyone was just a random backstory he had created for his in-game character, but now he was beginning to wonder if it was really true. Ark thought that if it was indeed a curse, perhaps he could purify himself using his anti-curse spell, which was effective against even mid-level curses. He knew of more powerful spells, but they would only harm the undead, and he didn't want to risk it. Resolved, he tested the spell on his own hand, and surprisingly, it worked, and his hand turned back to human. Ark was shocked and screamed, but the effect only lasted 5 seconds before his hand turned back to bone. He repeated the test throughout the night, and although the result was always the same, he kept trying until he was exhausted. The next morning, Ark and Arian set off early for the capital of the Kingdom of Rodan to locate the people whose names appeared on the elf sales contracts. Ark could only think of the night before, as he was now certain that he was a skeleton due to a curse that always returned, no matter how many times he purified it. As soon as they left the forest, Ark was attacked by giant dragonfly-like monsters near a lake and fled in terror. Arian rescued him and took him to a restaurant, where the two discussed their plans for the next day. She explained that the usual route to the capital was to go around the forest by carriage, but that they could take a shortcut by going straight through. A waitress overheard their conversation and warned them that the forest was dangerous because of a group of monsters called the Haunted Wolves. They had recently appeared and were attacking people, while the soldiers did nothing to protect the population. Arian was thoughtful when she heard the name of the wolves, but she assured them that they would not be a problem for the two of them. Once inside the forest, Ark asked her why she seemed so bothered by the haunted wolves. Arian told her that the tales of these wolves were used in bridal veils in elven traditions and were considered the best gift for a bride. Since her sister's wedding was coming up, she wanted to give it as a gift. The wolves, as if they had heard, suddenly appeared and attacked them from all sides. Ark cut one of them down, but realized that the wolves were illusions. Even surrounded, he could not tell which ones were real. He was overwhelmed by the number of enemies, but then he remembered that the haunted wolves were intelligent creatures that attacked in groups and used illusory copies to face strong opponents, always under the command of a cunning leader. While Ark struggled, Arian remained in control of the situation. As several wolves charged at her, she used a fireball to dispel an illusion, then created earthen spikes, striking a real wolf among all the false images. Ark was reminded once again that despite his high stats, he had no real combat experience. Since he couldn't fight like Arian, he decided the best option was to defeat the wolf leader to end the battle quickly. The leader was watching from a cliff, and Ark used Dimension Walk to approach from behind. As he attacked, the wolf jumped to dodge, but Ark noticed a black and red ring on the monster's leg, identical to the one he had seen on Toadzilla. To test the theory, he stood still, letting the wolf attack him from behind. At the right moment, he used a fire attack from under his cloak, then slashed with his sword, cutting through the ring. The leader regained consciousness as the ring was destroyed. He howled and gathered his pack, who immediately retreated. Arian climbed up the cliff to see what was happening and arrived just in time to see the ring disappear. She was surprised, but Ark understood what it meant. He told her about Toadzilla and the similar ring. It was likely that the monsters were being drawn to places they didn't belong and were becoming violent because of the rings. Leaving the subject of the rings aside, Arian asked Ark to wait while she collected the fur from the tails of the dead wolves for her sister's gift. While waiting, Ark saw Panther run into the forest, as if he had noticed something. He asked Arian to wait and ran after the fox. On the road near the forest, a carriage was crossing the region. Inside it, Princess Uriana of the Kingdom of Hoden was traveling on a diplomatic mission to talk to the elves about the recent kidnappings. She suspected that her older brother, Dakars, was involved in the slave trade with the support of the Holy Empire of the East. On the other hand, her older brother's faction on her father's side was also ambitious and would receive support from the Western Empire, with the two brothers vying for power and becoming increasingly aggressive. The princess worried about her own safety and hoped that everything would go well during the journey. But just as she thought this, the carriage was attacked by bandits. The princess's maid tried to protect her inside the carriage, but they soon realized that all the guards had already been defeated and that they were completely surrounded. One of the enemies opened the door, and the maid tried to protect her by jumping in with a dagger, but was struck and fell instantly. Uriana panicked and, as she approached her injured friend, was stabbed in the heart and also fell. One of the escort soldiers was part of the conspiracy and instructed the others to make everything look like a bandit attack. They laughed, saying that they would get rich with this mission, but Panta jumped in the face of one of the soldiers, surprising him. He thought about killing her to get rid of the creature, but Ark appeared behind him, grabbed his arms so hard that the sound of bones breaking was heard by everyone. Then he threw the soldier away and knelt next to the injured girl, who seemed to be the daughter of some rich family. The bandits then realized that he had seen everything and began attacking him with blasts of fire and enchanted stones, but Ark felt no harm. He wondered if he should use his powerful abilities to bring the girl back to life. In a game, this would be considered a good deed, with some reward, but bringing someone back to life in the real world was another story. He only noticed the attacks around him when they stopped, and turned to see the assassins being devoured by the haunted wolves. The leader of the pack had returned, both to take revenge on the humans, and to thank Ark for freeing him from madness. Together with his wolves, he eliminated all the murderers. Some managed to escape, but most died, and the leader left with his group after completing his mission. With no one around, Ark considered it safe to use his ultimate regeneration ability and brought the princess back to life. He was relieved to see that the spell worked and asked Panta to keep an eye on her while he helped the other injured. He used the same ability to heal the maid and some soldiers, but one of them was so badly injured that not even the spell could save him. Ark did everything he could to save as many people as possible. possible. As the light of the regeneration spell filled the area, the princess opened her eyes for a moment, saw the man before her, and wondered if he was an angel, before fainting again. Later, she woke up to hear the maid crying and shaking her. It was then that she realized that they were both alive and unharmed. Some of the soldiers had died, but the rest had miraculously returned thanks to magic. The princess was convinced that they had not just been injured, and the blood on her torn clothes was proof enough that she had been killed. However, she believed that a miracle sent by God had saved them. She gathered her men under the glow of dawn and gave a speech saying that someone had conspired to kill her, but by divine mercy, a miracle had happened. And this was a clear sign that they were destined to fulfill this mission. With enthusiasm, she told the soldiers that they would set off immediately for their destination, and that nothing could stop them. Ark watched everything from a nearby thicket, and soon realized that the girl was a princess. As he returned, he began to wonder if he had gone too far in reviving her, but he was certain that this could be one of those moments when history changes. When he found Arian again, she had already finished her work and collected the necessary amount of hair for her sister's veil. Arian asked what had happened, but Ark didn't say much and said it was nothing serious. After that, they continued their journey and arrived at the capital's central market, where someone threw a man at Ark. He turned around and saw that many men were surrounding a girl. When they tried to attack her, she pierced one of them in the eye and challenged the others to come at once. Ark thought about helping her, but Arian said that it was not necessary, and she was right, as the young woman easily took them all down, which left Ark impressed. However, when the girl looked directly at him, Ark worried that she would provoke him too. To his surprise, she greeted him politely and said it was a pleasure to meet him again. Ark then realized that it was the half-animal ninja he had met during the rescue of the elves in Dinto. The girl praised Ark for his performance in saving the elves and said that she wanted to talk to him about something important. Arian asked who the girl was and how she knew about the rescue mission. Ark explained that she was the one who gave him the information about the whereabouts of the kidnapped elves. The girl then introduced herself as Chiam from the Jinshin clan and said that she was one of the 6 strongest ninjas in her secret village. The group reserved a room to talk more privately. After everyone formally introduced themselves, Chiam came right out and asked why Ark called her a ninja when they first met. He knew what a ninja was, but he couldn't reveal that he came from another world, so he replied that in his country, spies and assassins dressed that way and were also called ninjas. Chiam commented that Ark must have come from the same country as the legendary founder of her clan, a man who arrived in that kingdom 600 years ago and became a legend. Ark realized that the founder of the ninjas was also from Japan and had possibly started a sect after being transported to that world. Arian asked what Chiam wanted to talk to Ark about, and the ninja became serious, saying that she needed his help. The beastmen were facing the same problem as the elves. They were being kidnapped and sold as slaves. Chiam and the other ninjas were on a mission to save them and were planning something big, but they needed extra help. She was desperate and offered information about the kidnapped elves as payment for any help. But Ark replied that he was already employed by the elves at the moment and that he would need their approval to take on another job. Chiam was saddened, but Arian asked her if she had been trained since she was a child to protect her people, and Chiam confirmed, saying that this was her life's mission. Arian felt that the two had a lot in common and, out of solidarity, decided to help her, as she understood her desire to protect her own people. She asked what the plan was, and Chiam guided them to the location of the operation through a forest. Along the way, Ark asked if their founder was also a beastman, but Chiam said that he was a human from another country named Hanzo. He had started out as a spy for the Empire, but when he saw the injustices against the beastmen, he decided to help them and trained some as his disciples, founding the Jinshin clan. Ark was astonished to hear the name Hattori Hanzo, the most famous ninja of all time, and was sure that he also came from Japan. Ark was envious that someone had arrived before him in that world, and had even left a legacy as a ninja clan and become a legend. Chiam noticed Ark's strange behavior, and Arian explained that he sometimes suffered from bouts of exaggerated fantasy. Soon after, the group arrived at a cliff from where they could see the largest slave market in the kingdom. Protected like a fortress, the plan was to attack it and free the prisoners, but Chiam warned that this place was the center of the slave trade, and that reinforcements would arrive quickly, so they would have to act quickly. She explained that Ark and Arian would make a quick and flashy attack and then escape, as it could become dangerous if they took too long. Chiam made it clear that not all of the prisoners would be able to escape, and that only part of those involved in the mission would be there. Ark understood that the plan was a diversionary attack, and the ninja confirmed it, saying that the Beastmen ninjas were already positioned in the city and would attack 4 other slave markets at the same time. Their attention would be focused on the largest market, increasing the chances of escape at the other points. Arian said that the plan was too risky, but Chiam was already willing to sacrifice herself if it helped save lives. She trusted Ark and Arian to help her reduce the damage, but Ark stated that he would fight with them until the end. Although Chiam did not want him to risk his life, Ark explained that he could use teleportation magic. She was surprised, and Ark commented that she should have seen this before. With this information, Chiam became more optimistic and decided to warn the others. She told them that the attack would take place that night and asked them to prepare, leaving immediately after. Jumping from tree to tree, Ark also said that they should prepare, and for him, that meant getting something to eat. Then he wanted to do one more thing: wear a ridiculous mask to stand out as bait. Arian thought the idea was silly, and neither she nor Panta were impressed with Ark wearing the mask. While they were talking, Chiam returned accompanied by another ninja, a huge, muscular man named Gomen. Ark was shocked to hear the name, which was the same as that of another legendary ninja from Japan, and asked if that was his real name. Chiam explained that those were just titles given to the most skilled warriors. Ark confirmed that both Chiam and Gomen used names inspired by Japanese legends. Gomen seemed distracted and aggressive, stared at Ark, and suddenly the two began to face each other in a kind of physical fight. The girls thought they were fighting for real, but in reality, this was how men made friends. Soon, the two were laughing and praising each other's strength. At midnight, it was time to put the plan into action. Arian and Chiam planned to enter through the back, while Ark and Gomen would attack from the front to attract attention. The group split up to carry out their tasks. The two strong men walked straight up to the sleepy guards, who recognized Gomen as a beastman, but were confused by the masked figure beside him. As the two approached, they decided it was time to attract attention. Gomen used Earth-style ninjutsu to create stone spikes on his shoulders, and, with Ark's help, broke down the gates. All the soldiers rushed out to face them, and Ark knocked them down with punches like rag dolls. Gomen used another ninjutsu and transformed his body into steel, breaking the weapons of the soldiers who were attacking him. The soldiers, terrified by those two monsters, retreated, and Ark took the opportunity to try to overcome the ninja. He used his ability called Rock Projectile, which in practice looked more like a stone cannon, crushing the soldiers with the impact to attract even more attention. He laughed insanely, terrifying the already frightened soldiers even more. The ninja then launched another jutsu, called Stone Spear Strike, and punched the ground, causing rock spikes to emerge from the earth. Ark, not wanting to be left behind, used his Stone Fang magic, and huge rocky fangs emerged from the ground. The combination of the two earth magics created an amplification effect, causing spikes to appear all over the field and completely destroy the surrounding area. The two ended up buried in the rubble of the chaos they created. Meanwhile, Arian, Panta, and Chiam reached the back door. Seeing the spectacle the two men were putting on, they rushed to take advantage of the distraction. They came across a locked door, which Chiam quickly opened with her lockpicking skills. They sneaked through the fortress while the soldiers ran towards the main gate. Panta noticed the soldiers approaching, but before they could act, Chiam used a water ninjutsu and transformed her attack into wolves that eliminated the enemies. More soldiers appeared, and it was Arian's turn to act, burning them with her flaming sword magic. They reached the basement, where they found beastmen chained in cells. When Chiam freed them, they asked who she was, and upon hearing that she belonged to the Jinshin clan, the prisoners were filled with hope. Chiam unlocked the cells and asked the now freed ones to help in the fight, while Arian prevented more soldiers from arriving. At the main entrance, both Ark and Gomen were buried, but managed to get out using their defensive techniques. They decided to join the girls, and were informed that all the freed beastmen were already gathered and guarding the hall. All that was left was to invade the building in the back. Gomen volunteered to stay behind and prevent the soldiers from arriving while the others advanced. They continued defeating guards, breaking down doors, and found an underground prison with more people. They freed everyone, but one cell in particular gave off a terrible smell. Chiam entered and came across the bodies of several relatives. The other beastmen explained that the wounded and sick could not be sold and were left to die in deplorable conditions. Everyone began to cry, and Ark was furious as well, but he decided that saving the survivors came before before morning. He gathered everyone together and teleported them out with the portal spell. After the evacuation, Chiam learned that the mission had been successful in the other locations as well. Ark decided that he still had something to do and returned to the fortress to end this once and for all. He teleported alongside Goman, who was still standing, despite being badly injured. Together, they decided to completely eliminate the humans responsible, using the combination of Stone Fang and Earth Spear magic to destroy the entire slave market. After setting the place ablaze, Arian and Chiam watched everything. Ark returned to them with the bodies that they had not been able to carry earlier, and Arian cremated them to give them a proper funeral. As the bodies were consumed by the fire, their spirits were freed and ascended to the heavens. Chiam vowed to become even stronger to prevent others from going through this. With the mission over, everyone left, but Ark and Goman strengthened their bonds of friendship by fighting again. While the girls talked about freeing their people from oppression, the next day, the group took a boat trip to the capital, where the ninjas delivered the promised information. Chiam revealed that the enslaved elves had been taken to the Holy Eastern Empire. Hearing this name, Arian became serious. She used a messenger bird to inform Danka and the others of the discovery, and then set off for the Empire accompanied by Ark. Along the way, they stopped for a while in the desert. There, a huge flock of wyverns covered the sky. Ark was excited by the spectacle, but Arian found it strange, since wyverns never traveled in such large groups. Due to the number of them, the messenger bird refused to fly, and the message could not be sent to the other elves. Ark said that it was not a problem, and that he could disperse the monsters. Without explaining his plan, he jumped off a cliff and landed hard on the ground. He then used an area of effect spell called Lightning Suppressor. Dark clouds covered the sky and hurled lightning at the wyverns. Arian and the others were caught in the attack as well, and when Ark teleported back after the lightning had stopped, he found everyone in a pitiful state. Before he could ask if they were okay, a green-haired elf covered in grass was taking notes on them. Ark and Arian made their way to an inn in a nearby town, where she was still irritated that he had used such a dangerous spell without warning. But she soon changed the subject, took out a map of the Empire, and began searching for the shortest route to their destination. The map was incomplete and lacking in detail, and the direct route was unmapped, making it risky. There was another concern occupying Arian's thoughts, and Ark asked her why she had been so uneasy since hearing the name of the Empire. She explained that capturing and selling elves was still legal there, which made even this border town dangerous for her. The green-haired elf from earlier in the day approached, showing off his pointy ears in human territory. Before he could say anything, Arian placed a pot over his head, ordering him to hide any evidence that he was not human. However, the innkeeper and the other people were friendly towards him. Leaving Arian confused, the elf introduced himself as Karsi, a biologist who had lived in the city for 10 years and was a friend to everyone. Arian remained suspicious, and Karsi gave a speech about how he wanted humans and elves to live in harmony. She said that was an illusion, and he countered by asking if she wasn't traveling with a human, even though he said he hated them. After the discussion ended, Ark asked Karsi why he had approached her. The biologist explained that he needed a specimen of a difficult-to-capture monster, but after seeing Ark's powerful spell that morning, he was convinced that he and his partner would be able to capture it. Arian declined, saying that they had more important tasks, but Karsi offered a detailed map of the Empire as a reward. She hesitated, so he added a copy of his research on magical creatures as a bonus, and Ark showed immediate interest. He insisted that Arian accept the mission, and she agreed. Karsi was pleased and asked them to meet at the city gate in the morning. Later, Ark flaunted his wealth by paying extra for a room, and the innkeeper offered him a barrel of high-quality liquor as a courtesy. In the room, as Arian pondered the possibility of elves and humans coexisting, Ark opened the barrel and poured her a glass, asking if she could drink. Arian went into competitive mode and drank it all in one go. She liked it so much that her ears even moved without realizing it. Ark tried it and found it tasty and strong. It was so strong that after 2 glasses, Arian became completely upset and jumped on Ark, sending him mixed signals about what she wanted. He was unsure whether she wanted him or the drink, and instead of answering clearly, she began shaking his head and throwing him repeatedly throughout the night. The next morning, Arian woke up in the destroyed room with a bad hangover, and upon seeing Ark on the floor without his armor, she identified him as just a skeleton and threw him away before he could explain. Putting that aside, the two went down to the bar, where the innkeeper mentioned that he had heard knocking in the room all night. Arian was even more embarrassed, but when they went to apologize to Karsi for keeping him waiting, he replied that he understood that they had both overslept due to the intense night. After that, they set off to find the monster alongside Karsi and a human friend of his. Arian's hangover was compounded by the nausea caused by the horrible smell of the corpses that the researcher carried as bait. Karsi explained that the bodies were to attract sandworms, which he wanted to study. The human friend offered Arian a special tea for hangovers. She still didn't feel comfortable around humans, but she recognized that the drink helped. Ark took the opportunity to talk to Karsi and learn more about the monster they intended to capture. It was a creature about 8 feet long, which came out at night and fed on carrion. It was weak to fire, but Karsi asked them not to use that element, as he needed the specimen alive. Karsi mentioned that the sandworm had recently been seen heading towards the flock of wyverns. As the two men talked about monsters, Arian looked back and noticed that the goblin cart was still there, but the other man had disappeared. When she alerted Ark, a gigantic sandworm appeared about 70 feet above the ground. Karsi was shocked to see the creature, and said it was the largest insect he had ever seen. Karsi's human friend was lying on the ground, his cart destroyed, and the sandworm noticed him. When the creature lunged to attack him, Arian rushed to help and launched a blast of fire at the monster. Despite fire being its weakness, the attack had no effect, and the creature fought back. Arian was almost hit, but Ark saved her, holding the monster with only one hand. He asked her to let him take care of the rest and began to fight the creature, using his strength to pull it out of the sand and throw it violently to the side. The worm died, and only then did Ark realize that it was also wearing that strange ring. The group dragged the creature's body back to the city, and Karsi rewarded Ark with the promised map and book. Before continuing their journey, Arian asked the biologist why he lived among humans. He replied that he liked them. Initially, when he lived in an elven village, he had a negative image of humans, but as he got to know them better, he realized that not all of them were bad, and that it was possible to build a peaceful future where both races lived as friends. He also told her about a human nobleman who had fallen in love with an elf girl and married her. Arian didn't believe it and asked Ark what he thought. Ark replied that there were many types of people among humans and elves, even though peaceful coexistence wasn't for everyone. Some could become good friends. They arrived at the city where the kidnapped elves were supposedly staying, but discovered that it was a military city with all areas heavily guarded. They decided to proceed with caution and split up to seek more information. Ark discovered that during the night, it was possible to hear screams coming from the nearby fortress, and that many people had disappeared recently, but no one could confirm anything about the elves. He decided to return to Arian, but on the way he heard the voice of a woman being kidnapped by some men. When one of them tried to drag her away, Ark appeared behind and twisted her arm. The other attackers rushed to attack him, but he knocked them down with a simple movement of his fingers. The girl, grateful, ran to hug him, and it was at that moment that Arian arrived and saw the scene. She was equally surprised and jealous when she saw a stranger embracing the knight. Even when Ark explained that he had helped her, Arian glared at the girl and told her to go home. Still shaken by jealousy, she told Ark that she had found useful information. She led him to another cliff, from where they could see a fortress. According to her sources, the elves had been taken there 4 months earlier. Ark commented that a lot could have happened in that time, but Arian still held out hope of finding someone alive. They approached the building to investigate. They managed to enter the fortress, which was eerily silent and empty. Arian found a hidden door that led to a staircase, descending into an underground area that reeked of wild beasts. Using Panta as a distraction to draw away the guards, she tried to open the door, but was unable to, as it was sliding and she was pushing. Inside, they found several empty cells, except for bones, hair, and an unbearable smell. They found another gate, and when Ark opened it, they found themselves in a huge underground cavern, supported by columns. An arrogant monster tamer named Fumba, who was in charge of the place, appeared upon noticing the commotion. Upon seeing Arian, he declared that she now belonged to him and ordered her to kill the knight. Ark was shocked when Arian obeyed and began to attack him. She wouldn't stop, even when he tried to make her come to her senses. Ark demanded that Fumba tell him what he had done to her, but as he spoke, the elf picked him up and threw him to the ground. It was then that Ark realized that it was a powerful curse. He used the anti-curse spell on her, but it had no effect effect, and Arian continued to attack him. Her consciousness had been invaded, and inside her mind, she saw herself facing her sister, who told her that she was weak and needed to train. Arian was spurred to fight in that dream, and she continued to face Ark in reality. Ark realized that his spell was working, but something recast the mind control enchantment almost instantly. He understood that Fumba was not directly responsible for maintaining the spell, and when the elf attacked him again, Ark saw a pair of eyes in the shadow behind her head. He asked Panta to take care of it, and the little fox jumped into Arian's hood, pulling out an imp, a monster that used powerful illusions. Panta threw it out, and Ark killed it with a fire spell. With that, Arian lost consciousness. Fumba was impressed by Ark's knowledge and speed, and decided to introduce himself. He said he came from a clan of monster tamers, and that he was the most skilled among them. He had left his village to achieve fame and claimed that he could tame any creature. Ark did not doubt it when he saw the rings on his hands, and concluded that Fumba was responsible for Toadzilla, the wolves, and the giant worm. Fumba prepared to fight, summoned his personal guard, a gigantic white tiger, and said that Ark would be his dinner. As he safely placed Arian in a corner, Ark asked the tamer a question. He wanted to know what had happened to the kidnapped elves taken there 4 months ago. Fumba laughed and said that most of them had been used in experiments by the Empire, and the rest had been given to his beasts after he grew tired of them. By mocking the elves' deaths, Fumba aroused Ark's fury, who eliminated the tiger with a single blow. He cursed the enemy, saying that he had seen many villains in his short journey and had remained calm in the face of their evil deeds, but Fumba was the worst of them all, and his actions made Ark too furious to think rationally. Fumba laughed, saying that Ark was arrogant, and that he would have to defeat many monsters before he could face him. He then used his whip to summon all the monsters he had under his control. Several creatures that Ark had never seen before appeared and attacked him from all sides. Even so, Ark faced them all, destroying them one by one. Fumba continued to send his monsters against Ark, until he pointed to a giant ogre that was approaching Arian. Ark panicked because he had failed to protect her, but before the monster could attack her, the ninja Chiam appeared and trapped the enemies in a water prison. Fumba stated that even with reinforcements, it would be useless, as he still had many monsters, but Chiam replied that he didn't have any more, as Goman and the other ninjas had infiltrated the base and had already eliminated all the other creatures. Ark asked how she knew about the situation, and Chiam explained that she had told everything to Arian, who had kept quiet out of jealousy. The conversation was interrupted by an earthquake, and Fumba laughed, saying that his final letter had awakened because dinner was late. He announced that he would show his masterpiece and finish them all off at once. He ran out of the place, and Ark tried to chase him, but the falling debris blocked the way. Chiam suggested that they take Arian to a safe place first. Ark teleported outside and, from above, saw the side of the castle break apart. A gigantic monster emerged from the smoke and dust. It was the Hydra, the most powerful water-type creature, with absolute mastery of the element and an extreme regeneration ability. Ark approached and noticed that the Hydra had 5 rings, one on each head. Chiam stated that it was the so-called nation-destroying creature, and he did not believe that an ordinary human could have controlled it. She suggested retreating, but the Hydra noticed their presence and launched an attack that completely destroyed the cliff where they were standing. Fumba was pleased to see the destruction and believed that his enemies were dead. He laughed insanely, stating that this was his true power. He wanted to show it to the elders of his village, who considered him weak and undisciplined and never recognized his talent. Fumba had left the clan and met the Emperor of the Holy Empire, who hired him to destroy the neighboring kingdom. Now, with the power of the Hydra, he thought he was invincible, and ordered the monster to advance and devour the people of the city. Ark and his group were buried under the rocks, but thanks to the Death-Healed ability, they survived. Ark pushed the rocks away with one blow, but panicked when he noticed that Arian was not around. When he turned, he saw that Arian was surrounded by a dark aura. She revealed that she had not lost consciousness while Fumba was controlling her. She had heard everything he had said about her and her people, and now she wanted to find him and make him suffer. Chiam agreed, saying that with the Hydra on his side, Fumba was too great a threat to ignore. The two thought that since Fumba believed them to be dead, this was the perfect time for a surprise attack. When they set out to find him, Ark hesitated, saying that they also needed to do something about the Hydra. Chiam replied that there was not much they could do, as it was a creature capable of destroying countries and was considered a force of nature. Ark disagreed, saying that unlike natural disasters, the Hydra could be killed. Even when the ninja asked if he was joking, Arian told him that he should take care of the monster while they faced its tamer. Arian and and Chiam ran towards Fumba and surprised him with a blast of fire, which he barely avoided. Arian claimed that she had come here to kill him for the elves he tortured. Fumba replied that she was too weak for that. He said that he had the Hydra on his side, and the elf admitted that the creature was powerful, but said that Fumba was weak for needing to display it as a cover for his own weakness. These were the same words that the elders of his village had used, and Fumba lost control. He declared that he would kill them all to prove his strength, but Arian did not wait for him to finish and went on the attack. Fumba blocked with his whip and tried to use the imps to control her again, but she destroyed them, saying that she would not fall for the same trick twice. Fumba became desperate and tried to order the Hydra to help him, but at that moment Chiam threw knives at him and cut his back, damaging his tattoo. She explained that she had noticed before that he used curse marks to control the monsters, but any interruption to the inscriptions rendered them useless. Now, he could control nothing. Fumba, already in despair, laughed madly, telling them not to blame him for what the Hydra would do next. Chiam worried about the city, but Arian assured him that as long as Ark was there, he would not let the monster kill anyone. Then, Arian wrapped her sword in flames and advanced on the tamer, who tried to stop her with her whip, but it quickly burned away. Fumba apologized for hurting the elves, but Arian said that she did not need his apology, and that he could personally deliver it to those he killed when he found them. With those words, she cast her most powerful spell and burned Fumba with blue flames until not even his ashes remained. Meanwhile, the Hydra advanced through the forest, destroying trees as if they were branches. Just as it was about to launch an attack on the city, Ark interrupted it with a move called Dragon Slash. The attack had no effect, and the Hydra turned all its heads towards him. It tried to bite him with extreme force, but Ark dodged and used Shield Bash to throw it off balance, causing the heads to swing one after another. Ark then teleported upwards and attacked one of the creature's necks. However, the attack did no damage. The Hydra then launched 3 blasts of water at him, and he dodged the blast with his Dimensional Path ability, but ended up being bitten by one of the heads. The other 3 prepared another attack, and Ark realized that the monster was sacrificing a head to ensure that it would hit him, but this was of no use, as his shield protected him completely. While the Hydra lost one of its heads, Ark descended to the ground and, using his ultimate ability called Judgment, summoned a giant lightning sword that fell from the sky and cut off 3 of the Hydra's heads. With only 1 head remaining, the monster began to regenerate the others. Ark thought this was to be expected of a mythical creature, and decided to buy time to prepare the final blow. He teleported to a cliff and decided to use a grand magic that he had never tried before. He knew it would be a powerful and exhausting spell, and that he would only be able to maintain it for a short time, but it should be enough to defeat the Hydra. Ark created a huge magic circle, and, with all his energy, summoned the demon of Hellfire, Ifrit. By the time the giant creature emerged, the Hydra had already fully regenerated, and was now facing an opponent of similar size. The two charged at each other, and the demon broke one of the Hydra's heads with his bare hands and crushed its jaw when it tried to launch its water attack. The demon punched and bit the monster, which, realizing that it was at a disadvantage and free of Fumba's control, tried to flee. Ark jumped from the sky on the creature, grabbed it by the tail with all his strength and spun it, launching it into the air. He then ordered Ifrit to use his ultimate ability, Fire Hellion. A pillar of brilliant fire, visible from miles away, consumed the Hydra completely. Arian and Chiam were shocked to witness the battle between 2 giant monsters. When the sun rose, Ark returned to them and said he was glad to see them safe. They asked about the fire demon, and he explained that it was a creature summoned from another dimension, and that it would return there in 5 minutes. Soon after, Arian received a voicemail from Danka, bringing surprising and positive news. Princess Uriana of the Kingdom of Rodden had met with one of the Elven Elders and declared that her kingdom would take responsibility for the humans who had broken the peace treaty and kidnapped elves. She promised to search for the missing elves, but she also got something else. She explained to the elder that her 2 older brothers, who had tried to eliminate her, had the support of the Eastern and Western empires, both troubled countries, to prevent one of them from becoming king and worsening relations between humans and elves. She wanted to be crowned queen. She promised the elder that if he would support her claim to the throne, she would fight alongside them if the Holy Empire attacked them. The elder accepted with enthusiasm, and the princess said that they must work together to build a world where humans and elves could live in peace. Despite the good news, Arian Arian felt shaken, for her purpose in life seemed lost now that the humans were searching for the kidnapped elves. She was surprised to see that humans could treat elves this way, and remembered what Carsey had said. Ark commented that the time for peaceful coexistence was coming sooner than they thought. Arian replied that, since she met Ark, the world seemed to be changing around him, and he laughed. He said that now that the great mission was over, he would go back to living a peaceful life. But neither of them believed him. Jokingly, Ark took off his helmet, and poor Chiam, without any warning, was terrified. He hid behind a tree and refused to come out, even after Arian explained the whole situation of the curse. After that, Arian invited him to her house, and after a short rest, they would go together to the Lord's Crown, where he could break his curse. Ark agreed that this would be the best. Thus ended the journey that Ark had begun in search of a peaceful life. With so many friends, he hoped it would continue to be as fun as it had been until now. He still had no idea why he had been sent to that world, but he didn't care as long as he could enjoy his life as a skeleton while he was there. And at that moment, the story came to an end.